So Disney just dropped Soul on Disney Plus this Christmas, and so I took the time. I took the time the day after Christmas to watch both Onward and Soul, and I thought I wanted to just give my thoughts on these two movies. Before I wanted to dive into Pixar a bit and say what are my opinions on them. So I think Pixar, their first three movies in the '90s, because believe it or not, I love Bug's Life. I love the first two Toy Story films. I love Finding Nemo, Monsters Inc., Wall-E, Ratatouille, great films. The Incredibles, it's a good film. Did not have a great sequel. And, but definitely it seems like from Toy Story to Toy Story 3, I think that was their, when they had, a string of actually really good films. Even Cars. I have a kind of a soft spot for Cars. I think the films from Toy Story 3 are great. But then, after that, then Cars 2 happened, which, okay, listen, I like Cars 2. I do. I actually, out of the Pixar sequels, I do like Cars 2 and Monsters University. But yeah, for some reason, Pixar had a big craze in the 2010s, last decade, with making sequels to their products. There are two Cars sequels and there's two spin-offs, Planes and the sequel. They made a Monsters Inc. prequel. There's a second Finding Nemo movie, but it's Dory. And there's a second Incredibles, which is the one that everybody wanted, and there's a fourth Toy Story. And right now, with Pixar seeming just with these, I think they might be cutting back on doing more original stuff. But I have to say, during last decade, I don't think even their original ideas were that great. I mean, listen, okay, I love Inside Out. Inside Out is amazing. But Good Dinosaur, Coco was really, I didn't see Coco just because it was it was really, it was like The Book of Life, but if it looked more, it's like The Book of Life, but it looked more like a Pixar film. Good Dinosaurs just wasn't that creative enough with its premise of a world where dinosaurs did not get hit by the meteor. Yeah. And then, so now we have, Onward and, Soul, his two original films. So, yeah, let's head right into the first one that came out this year, Onward. Now, Onward, a lot of people said this one wasn't great, so now, before this film came out, and before pandemic, before shit hit the fan, I thought, Onward would be, the first great film of 2020, the first one that would go on my top 10 list of this year. Sadly, how this year's turned out, I really don't have a top 10 list for 2020, so don't expect a best of the year list everyone's trying to crank out. But, so yeah. Onward would have, and both of these movies actually would have made my top 10, I really do think. I really do enjoy Onward. I don't really get why people don't like it. I actually think, I love this story. I love how I like how it's set up. It's this suburban, it's this magical suburban fantasy where the idea is all these mythical creatures and fairy tales and myths, how it's them in a modern day society where they don't use magic and everything is technology based. I really do enjoy this movie, and no, I'm not this. If you're wondering if I believe in the Pixar theory, no, I really don't believe in the Pixar theory. I think I have a lot of stuff about it, just it's not true. Literally, so after the humans left in Wall-E, really, Cars came... Do you really think Cars just, somehow came to life and then they all went away in Wall-E? I don't get it. And so, like, and Bug's Life, and, like, the bugs in A Bug's Life informed into the Monsters Inc. What? And and The Incredibles, I really think Incredibles was really just like a comic book, if within within the Pixar verse, or like, listen, I have my opinions on the Pixar there. I don't really think most of it's true. Even like the Boo being the witch from Brave. I mean, really, do you really think this old woman? Do you really think Boo grew up to look like that? I don't know. I can't get too carried away with this. But anyway, so I really do love Onward. Anyway, I love the act performances from Tom Holland, Chris Pratt, and Octavia Spencer. And I just kind of like and I love road trip romances. I kind of like that. It's just this nice road trip, relaxing film about, and it has this heartfelt story about these two brothers who, are just, and like, trying to bring back their father. And I like how the fact that it's like half of him with his legs on. That's kind of funny. That's a little fun thing to have. And I actually thought that it was kind of creative at the end with the dragon. And yeah, I don't really get why this one isn't that bad. I actually liked it. I really liked Onward. It was a good film. Great comedy, great acting. It's just a nice story. And I love the end. That at the end, it was really they really didn't need the dad at the end. I actually just loved the fact of the film. But yeah, that's Onward. I really don't have that much to say. It's still a good movie. I love it anyway. So now going on to Soul. Now Soul, when I kind of saw the trailers for it, I was thinking, so is it Coco with black people in it? But anyway, I really thought Soul was really good. I actually loved Soul. It actually might be my favorite film of 2020, despite me not having a list. Originally, The Five Bloods by Spike Lee on Netflix was my favorite film of 2020, but now after seeing Soul, this actually is my favorite one. I really loved how it depicts New York. It's one of the few films that really gets New York right. And there's a line that Jamie Foxx says, "Never stop in the streets of New York." That is completely true. This is just one of those movies, like, most of the Spider-Man movies, I think, gets New York somewhat right. Home Alone 2 gets it right. Even Spider-Verse. Most of the Spider-Man movies, like, kind of have, really Spider-Verse, I think, has the most authentic feel to New York City. Even Enchantress has that feeling. It's like, part of my problem with when it comes to Ninja Turtles is that they come at night, but what it says, like, no one's on the streets. And also, I gotta point out, in Godzilla 1998, this is actually this is the title card they use for New York. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting too carried around with New York and how it's depicted in movies. All around, I actually really love Soul. I love Jamie Foxx and as this jazz musician's teacher who gets this gig, and I actually really love the fact that he's he's a teacher, just this jazz guy. I love, and actually I like blues sometimes. Like jazz has been like inspirational. All that stuff. I love the sound of jazz. It's part of why La La Land is such a great film. And I love I love the animation on how it's made. I love that. I just love all of that stuff. And when he dies, which I think is kind of stupid, him falling into a sewer, like, you can't really, like, falling into a sewer, you really won't die. I don't think that's just not really impossible. And and I even like a cartoon. I know this is a cartoon, but it's like, still, like, if Bugs Bunny died from falling into a sewer pit, like, that wouldn't really go off well. and it's impossible for like Bugs Bunny to die just falling into a sewer pit. It just wouldn't happen. But anyway, I actually thought the film was just not going to be as good as the opening, but it really is. I actually started liking Jamie Foxx's relationship with 22, this like lost before soul played brilliantly by Tina Fey. Who I'm not a big fan of Tina Fey, but I actually really like Tina Fey. I love their chemistry together. Especially I love once they go to New York and it's her adapting to real life society. I love all of that stuff. I really do. I just love all that stuff. I definitely love the scene at the barber shop, and I love how the jazz scenes, like when they're at that club. I love how it's filmed. It actually feels like an actual New York band. Like I'm sorry, I love how they animated New York City. I really do love how they made it. But yeah, I can't express enough, and I just love the ending when Joe is just sitting in his chair playing piano and he realizes a lot, and we see all this imagery, this beautiful, and this is just one of Pixar's most beautiful films. I think definitely Pixar's animation gets beautiful and beautiful over time. I think definitely like Inside Out, Coco, even Incredibles 2. I think even despite my opinions on it, I think like it definitely shows that the evolution of how Pixar keeps looking every time they make a movie. I just love it. But yeah, Soul, just a great film. I loved it. And so yeah, as you can tell, I loved both Onward and Soul, but maybe Soul just a little bit, just because of just the characters more and just how it's all jazz and music. That's I think has a lot to do with why I love Soul the most. Overall, Onward is an 8 out of 10 and Soul is a 9 out of 10. They're great films. Definitely go check out Soul because Onward might have some stuff you might not like, but Soul is a great film. I love it. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on the new Pixar films. And yeah, thank you very much for checking out this video. And I will see you next time for I should have just said this.